Here are 4 prospects that the Miami Marlins could target in Wednesday's Rule 5 draft.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about this team for the last 4 seasons. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. And on today's show, I'm going to give you 4 names to pay attention to ahead of the Rule 5 draft, which takes place on Wednesday. The winter meetings are in full effect. It kicked off Monday, and it's been slow, to say the least, especially from the Marlins perspective. Now, if you go across baseball, there's been a couple big names that just signed. So Edwin Diaz goes from the New York Mets to the LA Dodgers, a 3-year, $69 million deal. An average of $23 million a year. That's the highest AAV for a reliever ever in the sport of baseball. The rich get richer. The Dodgers bullpen is absolutely loaded. You have the Philadelphia Phillies, division rival Phillies, who re-signed Kyle Schwarber. Now, there was some talk of Schwarber maybe going to the Pirates. The Pirates reportedly offered him a 4-year deal. The money, that number was undisclosed, but apparently it wasn't 5 years, $150 million deal because Schwarber is staying in the city of brotherly love. I would have loved to see Schwarber leave the division, no pun intended, but nonetheless, Schwarber gets the bag. The Phillies are loaded. The Dodgers are loaded, and that's what makes these marginal moves so important. Because Peter Bendix and company have to compete with these high payroll teams. They have to compete with teams that are willing to spend. And there's been multiple instances where I hear or I see something of, well, the Marlins were interested in this free agent. Most recently, I saw a tweet from Isaac Azut. Well, the Marlins were interested in Steven Matz. And Steven Matz signs with the Tampa Bay Rays for a 2-year, $7.5 million deal. Right now, the Marlins aren't spending any money. And I hope that changes in the next few days. I hope something gets done. And we're not in a situation like we were last season where we're waiting right up until spring training starts for the Marlins to be active in the free agency market. But this is where a draft like this comes in, the Rule 5 draft, finding these hidden gems. Because the way baseball works is you have your 40-man roster and you can't fit everybody onto your 40-man roster. It's kind of like undrafted free agency in the NFL. You're going to find a hidden gem that nobody selected. And with how deep baseball is, how many different levels of the minor leagues there are, there's bound to be a player or two that slips through the cracks and carves himself out a really good career. Look at last season. In the Rule 5 draft, Shane Smith gets selected by the White Sox. Now, the White Sox were terrible, but Smith had a really good season. He was a Rule 5 draft pick. The Miami Marlins themselves selecting Liam Hicks, a catcher, a farmhand for the Detroit Tigers, hadn't played above the AA level, makes the roster out of spring training, and carves himself out a nice role. So this Rule 5 draft, the Marlins do have a roster spot open. Zach Brixey was outrighted to AAA. That makes the current 40-man roster as it sits right now at 39, which leads me to believe that on Wednesday, the Marlins could select someone in the Rule 5 draft. They don't have to, but they can if they want to. And so I'm going to give you a few names who could fit the bill as to someone that the Marlins and Peter Bendix see potential in and give a shot on the 2026-man roster. I have 2 pitchers and I have 2 hitters. I'm going to start with the pitchers. And my number 1 target in this Rule 5 draft is Griff McGarry, I absolutely think Griff McGarry is the type of pitcher that would fit perfectly in Miami's organization. And why do I say that? Well, the number one reason is McGarry needs some help. Okay. McGarry, there's a reason he's available on the 40-man roster, or he's off the Phillies 40-man roster. I should have mentioned that. He's coming over from Philadelphia. High chance he gets selected because of the caliber of his stuff. He has major league caliber stuff. A mid-90s fastball, a slider that is a true major league pitch, and a strikeout weapon. A season ago, generated a 52% whiff rate on the slider, a 35% strikeout rate overall in his career. The issue for him has been the walks. And this is something that I believe Bill Hazel, Daniel Moskos could work with him in spring training. Now, with Griff McGarry, he was a former top prospect. A top prospect with the Phillies, drafted out of the University of Virginia, a 5th-round pick back in 2021, and stuff has never been the issue. It's always been the command. And you go back and you look at some of these walk numbers. I mean, it's atrocious. This was a season, or 2025 was a season in which he had a 13.9% walk rate. And that was considered good by his standards. I mean, that's how bad his command has been. Now, he did show some improvement. You go back to 2024, I mean, this number looks fake. A 24% walk rate for McGarry in the minor leagues. You had 2023, 18.5% walk rate. I mean, it was bad. And it's been something that's been plaguing him. Over 10% every single year of his career. Cannot locate his pitches. The stuff is there. He has really good stuff, but if you can't throw the ball over the zone, if you can't throw the ball over the plate, you're going to get in trouble. And so that's why the Phillies left him off the 40-man roster. An organization like the Marlins can take a chance on McGarry and try to make some mechanical adjustments with him in order to fix his command. We saw a success story like Edward Cabrera just a season ago. People keep talking about Cabrera this offseason, the national media. Oh, Edward Cabrera is their biggest trade chip. They could move him, which is fine. But I think back to last April, when he had a very underwhelming spring training, an underwhelming start to the year. And I went on this podcast and I said, look, I think Cabrera's done as a starting pitcher. He can't control what he throws. He's going 90 pitches in 4 innings, and then he leaves the game. When is this experiment going to end? And then he proved me wrong and goes out and was the most consistent starter for the Marlins last season. That's what I'm hoping. There can be a type of renaissance for McGarry, still 26 years old. Again, there's still some room for him to improve. He's got the strikeout stuff. It's just command. Can he make some adjustments to command his pitches? He made 21 starts last year. The ERA, 3.44 in 83 2/3 innings. He struck out 124. It really comes down to the walks. And that's it, because guys don't really hit him. Opponents hit 180 against him. So will he profile as a starter for the Marlins? That's where I say you might consider moving him to the bullpen. He's had experience in the bullpen before. 2024 in the Phillies organization, he was exclusively pitching out of the pen. And then they moved him back into the rotation, and the walk rate decreased a little bit, but it was still a problem. So Griff McGarry, electric stuff. Walks are the issue. Can it be fixed? If the Marlins organization believes they can fix him and they can make some adjustments in the control and whatever mechanics are plaguing him, whether it's inconsistency or it's a pitch repertoire, it's a grip. I trust the Marlins pitching development more than any other organization because they get the most out of everyone consistently. They have guys coming up through the minors with good stuff and improving from year to year. So Griff McGarry, a name to keep an eye on. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the Incredible Hulk, one of the pitchers that is an intimidating presence on the mound, but also has really good stuff. His name's RJ Petit. That's coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's why making live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. I think back to Monday Night Football. There were like 7 turnovers in that game. The momentum going back and forth between the Eagles and the Chargers. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment on a game like that where everything's mayhem for a few minutes. You have live spreads, money lines will adjust instantly. My favorite bet for this upcoming NFL Sunday is the 49ers to cover -12.5. The player props will update as well during the game as guys heat up. So if you want to be in the middle of the action this season on an NFL Sunday, whether you're a Chargers fan like me, you're a Dolphins fan, Dolphins making a comeback as well. They're up to 6 wins, 6-7. Visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live the Marlins every single day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Marlins with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Check the link down below in the show notes to learn more. RJ Petit is the Incredible Hulk. I mean, this dude is giant. He stands 6'8", weighs 300 pounds, and has a 10 out of 10 mustache. If you go to minorleaguebaseball.com, you type in RJ Petit, pull up a picture of this guy. I mean, the dude looks like a sheriff from an 1880s Wild West town. I mean, that guy means business when he's on the mound. So there's an intimidating presence when he's pitching, because I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to climb in the box and see a 6'8", 300-pounder staring down at me. Okay, he was drafted back in the 14th round in 2021 out of Charleston Southern. Small college guy, but big-time stuff. His best pitch has got to be also his slider. So RJ Petit, he's got a mid-80s slider with a ton of whiff on that pitch. He's going to generate the strikeouts. Last season, struck out 79. Let's see here. Wrong tab. 79 strikeouts in 66 and a third innings. He pitched between AA and AAA. AA in the Tigers organization for Erie, 2.28 ERA. When he moved up a level to AAA, facing better competition, the ERA only jumped up slightly, a 2.74. Opponents hit 200 against him all season across AA and AAA. He's got good stuff. Got a fastball and a sinker. Mid-90s guy, can reach back, throw at 96 or so. And I'm telling you, this dude is productive. And that's what I like about RJ Petit is at 26 years old, he's been in the minors now for a handful of seasons. If you take away 2021, in which he only pitched 7 2/3 innings, his ERA has been under a 3.7 every single year. And he's consistent. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to get you strikeouts. He's going to limit the damage. He's good at run prevention, which is ultimately what it comes down to. Now, for Pettit, that slider, he'll throw it in any count. I saw a clip where it was a 3-2 pitch against the lefty, buried a slider, got the strikeout. That shows me that he has confidence in his pitch count or in his pitch repertoire, especially with that slider. And the Marlins love guys that have good stuff. You know, what the organization really comes down to is maximizing your stuff. If your best pitch is a slider, yes, we want you to focus on a changeup and get better and improve your fastball command. But when push comes to shove and you need to get strike 3, you have that slider in your back pocket, you're going to throw it because your best stuff is what's going to get hitters out. Now, for Pettit, he's, again, available in the Rule 5 draft. You select him, he's going to have to remain on your roster all season long. Unlike McGarry, Pettit pitched exclusively out of the bullpen pretty much his entire career. 187 games, 182 of those were out of the pen. So he would come in to the organization trying to be another right-handed option out of the pen. And in spring training, competition matters. Okay? I don't think this Marlins bullpen, save for one or two guys, I don't think there's defined roles for anybody else. Right? Ronnie Enriquez right now is the best reliever this team has. If the Marlins don't make an addition regarding the bullpen, and I do think they will, then it would be Enriquez getting the 9th most nights when you're ahead, and then a combination of Lake Bacher, Calvin Fauché, Anthony Bender hopefully comes back healthy, Tyler Phillips, but Cade Gibson as a left-hander, Josh Simpson, if he's still on the roster, they're going to have to make things work. And that's why this Marlins team has to address the bullpen. They have to add some new faces in to provide competition and give yourselves a chance. And a productive pitcher like RJ Petit at 6'8", 300 pounds would be a huge presence, not just physically, but also providing competition because he's been productive throughout his minor league career. He deserves a shot at the major league level. Could the Marlins take a chance on him? Absolutely. We're going to talk about some hitters now coming up next. Kyler Fedko, some of the best power available in this Rule 5 draft. And I love that because guess what? The Marlins need power. Could they take a chance on Kyler Fedko? And if they do, is there room for him in the outfield? How will they orchestrate and put that together? That's coming up right after this. Guys, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is so clutch. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when seats open up, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands, and it makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Gametime is so great. I use Gametime when I want to go to a sporting event because of the all-in pricing. The price you see is the price you're going to pay at checkout. There's no hidden fees, no confusion, no hunting for fine print. They also have the seat view feature. You literally see what the seat is going to look like, the view from your seat, your vantage point looking at the field. It's great. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Shout out to all the everyday listeners who make Locked On Marlins a part of your daily routine. If you're new to the show, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the podcast with your friends. Winter meetings are in full effect. We saw Kyle Schwarber get signed. The Rule 5 draft is on Wednesday. The Marlins still being quiet, still being rumored to free agents, but nothing gets done. What's that saying? Always the bridegroom, never the bride. That's what it's starting to feel like from a Marlins fan perspective. Interested in free agents, but not ponying up the cash to get something done. And hopefully that changes in the next few days. I'd like to see this Marlins team be active in free agency. I saw an MLB.com article from Christina De Nicola that said the Marlins are primarily offering 1-year contracts. Like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't investing in the roster. This isn't building something for 2026. Yeah, it says sources have told MLB.com that the Marlins have primarily been offering just 1-year deals to free agents, though multi-year contracts could be on the table depending on the player. Take that as you will. Anyway, Rule 5 draft is on Wednesday. Moving on to a couple of hitters. Fedko, I want to talk about now. Kyler Fedko, man, this guy's got some pop. And he hit 28 bombs a season ago in the minor leagues. Now, Fedko comes over from the Twins organization. Okay, so he was a Minnesota Twins selection out of University of Connecticut, known more for their basketball than their baseball. But he's a right-handed hitter, 26 years old, and put up some really good numbers last season, hitting 28 bombs, OPS of 854, and he also stole 38 bases. What I find fascinating about this is that although in 2023 and 2024 he didn't play a lot, just 59 and 76 games respectively, 2022, when he played in 110 games, he only hit 10 bombs. And that's an 18 home run increase from his previous career high. I think he might have been injured the last couple of seasons, dealt with some injuries, but in 2025, AA and AAA, the dude was productive. And I went and watched some of his swings. Swings from the right-hand side. Compact, easy swing. He's not doing too much at the plate. It's just going up there. He's kind of crouched down a little bit and a simple foot movement, and he can mash. He can absolutely mash. The big thing for Fedko was he added bat speed, added 2 miles an hour to his bat speed from 2 seasons ago to last year. And that translates into hard hit baseballs. And when you hit the ball hard, you're going to hit home runs. You know, another player that added bat speed was Kyle Stowers. Stowers has some of the best bat speed in the Marlins organization. His quality of contact is elite. Now, does Fedko have problems at the plate? Yes, he's not a perfect prospect. Guess what? Nobody is that's in the Rule 5 draft, because if they were, they wouldn't be available in the Rule 5 draft, and the Twins would have protected him. What I would say is the main issue with Fedko is his chase rate. Now, in AAA, okay, so we have data for AAA. Where was it here? Fedko played, how many games did he have? He had 187 plate appearances in AAA. He chased 32 or 31% of the time. Stowers chases too. If you go to Kyle Stowers and his Savant page, there's some holes, but I think he mitigates those risks. Stowers is someone that hits the ball so hard and has such good quality of contact that although he himself is chasing 28% of the time and striking out a lot, he's going to be productive. He's going to get his and get those extra base hits. So the hope would be for Kyler Fedko, if you selected him in the Rule 5 draft, that he would come in and compete in spring training and be a high upside power bat. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is power. 28 home runs, added bat speed, deserves a shot in the majors, is going to get a shot at some point, I think, in 2026. Now, where would he fit into the Marlins outfield? Because as it stands right now, you're going to have Kyle Stowers. You would have Jacob Marcy in center, Conine and Heriberto Hernandez, possibly platooning. If you give Conine the everyday role, Hernandez seems to be the first guy off the bench. Dane Myers is in trouble if the Marlins select Kyler Fedko, if the Marlins select a outfielder in this scenario, in this Rule 5 draft. And honestly, I like Kyler Fedko's upside and giving him a chance in spring training to compete for that fourth, for that fifth outfield spot. Because of the power. If that power is legit, that bat speed is legit, and he really has 25, 30 home run potential, then I think it's worth giving a shot. Because Dane Myers right now doesn't have a clear and defined role on this team. The Marlins aren't in need of an outfielder. I do want to stress that. But I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on Fedko and seeing what he does in spring training and possibly at the beginning of the year. Because, hey, why not? You have the roster spot open. Again, this is a position that is sort of jam logged. There's a log jam, not jam logged. There's a log jam there in terms of depth. I think you're in a good depth position. But if you can upgrade your backups, Fedko might be your guy. Another interesting prospect I have is AJ Vukovich. Vukovich, kind of the same type of player as Fedko, which made me, pick him for this specific project. He's 24 years old, from the Reno Aces in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, hit 22 bombs, OPS of 853. Now, that was all across AAA Jackson or AAA Reno. There is a concern that, hey, he's playing in a really good offensive environment that might blow up his numbers, inflate his numbers a little bit, but he definitely has the power to make things interesting. Vukovich is someone that I wouldn't guarantee a starting role on this team, okay, by any means. I don't think the Marlins are searching for a starting outfielder in the Rule 5 draft. But if you can win the margins and you can find, again, these hidden gems, Vukovich and Fedko, both players to keep an eye on. Vukovich, he has really good exit velocity, average or max exit velocity 109.8, so he can hit the ball hard. He's got some strength. Tall guy that swings from a slightly open stance, and I notice he steps out when he swings. He's almost reminds me of Yuli Gurriel, upright in the box, and then he'll step out, but he can mash. He's got a career 93 homers in the minor leagues going back to 2021, double-digit home runs in every single season. So Vukovich, a player that has a lot of power, his main problem, again, is strikeouts and just whiffing, like a lot of these power hitters do. Whiffed 38% of the time, 32.6 to be exact, and struck out 27% of the time. If you go to Fedko is a little bit better, I think, as a hitter himself. You had that breakout season. Fedko, he didn't strike out as much as Vukovich, just struck out 22% of the time, which would translate to the major leagues. But chased. He had that chase problem. And when you go to the majors, it's an upgrade in pitching. You're going to see some better stuff. He'll probably strike out a little bit more if he doesn't try to tone back that chase rate. But Vukovich, Fedko, two players to keep an eye on in the outfield. Again, Dane Myers would be that guy who, if the Marlins add an outfielder, even if it's not in the Rule 5 draft, I think you would look at Dane Myers as being that guy who's in danger of getting cut and the Marlins moving on completely from this organization. So with the Marlins, Rule 5 draft, again, Wednesday. Now, I'm hoping this is just the beginning. I'm hoping this team starts being active in free agency. A lot of interest, not a lot of action. So there's still work to be done. Peter Bendix over in Orlando, Florida at the winter meetings. Thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Marlins today. Make sure you subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts, free and available, all the major podcast platforms out there. And did Locked On Marlins make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you to the first 24/7 national Locked On Podcast YouTube channel. And check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and as always, let's go fish.